Good evening. Thank you for watching. Please like and share. Comment where you're viewing from. If you're in Shreveport, Louisiana, if you're anywhere else, comment where you are joining us from. Welcome, everybody. I'm going to give it a few minutes. I actually got a little late start today, but that is life. It's the life of a mother. Literally just walked through the door. I'm going to um, share it on my end. Please like and follow me on all of my platforms on Facebook at JL Counseling LLC, on Instagram at JL Counseling LLC, and you can like and subscribe my YouTube channel, JL Counseling. So go ahead and do all of that and share the video. I'll give it a few minutes, let some more people join us, and then we'll get started. Thanks for tuning in. Please like and share and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Thanks for joining me. Tonight, we're going to be talking about mental health in the workplace. So, if you are dealing with some stress in the workplace, or if you have dealt with stress in the workplace before, this is the episode for you. Thank you for tuning in. Please like and share, subscribe, do all the things. Gonna give it a few more minutes, let some people join us. The last episode was so good, y'all. If you did not see the last episode about sex therapy with my colleague Bridget Maiden Williams, you have to go watch it. It's on my YouTube channel. So go back and watch the replay, because I guarantee you will find it to be quite interesting. And I'm sure you'll get just a different insight on sex therapy and just some ideas about sex in general. So it was a really good episode. So it's not for children either. So just remember that. So please like and share. Thank you for watching. I'm going to give it a couple more minutes, let some more people join us, and then we'll get started. Please like and share and subscribe. I'll give like 10 more seconds. And then we'll go ahead and get started. Wherever you're viewing from, please post in the comments where you're viewing from. All right, so we're going to go ahead and get started. So, welcome to the Counselors Complex. My name is Jessica Latin, and this is the Counselors Complex podcast, where we are enlightening people and educating people in everything related to mental health. So my name is Jessica Latin. For those of you who are new here, I'm a licensed professional counselor, and I am the owner of JL Counseling, a mental health private practice located in Shreveport, Louisiana. I provide general mental health counseling services to residents of Louisiana, Texas, and Georgia. I provide in-person therapy to Louisiana residents and teletherapy to all the rest. And I have been in private practice for the last 3 years. I have been a therapist for, gosh, I've been in the mental health field just in general since 2012. So it was 2012, 2013. So yeah, so I'm starting to feel a little old. I'm starting to feel like I'm getting a little old in this field. So that's always nice. I think like the older you get, the more experience you get in your career, like you just feel like, yes, like I've arrived, like I've made it. Yeah. When you're new, you're kind of like, oh, I don't know anything. Um, but I'm definitely like at the stage now where I feel like I have a lot of experience. I feel like I'm very knowledgeable about, most things related to mental health. And I'm excited to share all those things with you guys. So, first, to just kind of, well, here's my little information for you, and in case anybody wants to share it, feel free to like and share. Thank you guys for joining. Um, so I, of course, we didn't do this last segment in the last podcast because we had so much to cover. But I wanted to get back into it. So today, we're going to start off talking a little bit about mental health in the news. And so I was looking up what we were going to talk about today for mental health in the news, and I came across this article that somebody had posted, a colleague of mine had posted in a group for therapists. And then I found the article on um, on NBCnews.com, and it was actually written by a psychologist, Maggie Mulqueen. She's a psychologist, and she was talking about how a lot of times people are afraid to talk even to their therapist, and sometimes therapists are afraid to like share their personal opinions with their clients because of this cancel culture that we have now. So I just kind of wanted to briefly talk to you guys a little bit about cancel culture. So what are your thoughts about cancel culture? Hey Zach's watching. I'm looking on my phone too at the same time. So if you see me looking down, I'm looking on my phone too at any comments. So what are you guys' thoughts about cancel culture, and do you feel comfortable if you're in therapy? Do you feel comfortable talking to your therapist about your personal beliefs, like whether it has to do with, LGBTQ community, if it has to do with, your views on parenting, your views on just, I mean, anything, racism or politics, like a lot of times people feel like they can't really discuss that with just in general. We can't discuss it with our families. We can't discuss it with our friends. We can't discuss it just kind of out in the public because of cancel culture. And so that is kind of taking precedence even in the therapy room, because as counselors, we can't tell anybody what you tell us. And so that does give you a sense of, well, it should give you a sense of comfortability with being able to share your opinions on kind of touchy taboo topics. But I mean, I can see how people would be worried about their opinions maybe affecting the therapeutic relationship. I can definitely see that. What are your guys' thoughts about that? I mean, I don't care. Me personally, just as a therapist, I don't really mind if my clients have a different worldview than I do when it comes to certain topics, whether that be, I mean, it doesn't matter. All the controversial topics that you can think of that are present right now, it doesn't bother me if a client has a different viewpoint than I do. I think that is okay. And I would never like try to make them feel uncomfortable for having a different opinion. And I mean, there's been clients that I've had that they've expressed like an opinion about maybe like something that happened in the news. And, like I respectfully was just like, oh, okay, like that's cool. Like I just acknowledge that I acknowledge how they felt, and I just, kept it pushing. I wasn't going to debate with them about it or anything like that. And I think that's where like having professional boundaries comes in. Like your therapist shouldn't be arguing viewpoints with you because that's not what your therapy session is for. Um, but also I definitely feel like we have to be considerate of who our therapist is and what their background might be, if that makes sense. So I probably would not bring up certain things with a therapist if I knew that maybe they would probably most likely have a different view than I would. I might save that conversation for, someone else who I would be like sure that they would kind of confirm similar feelings. But, I guess that just goes to show, like with the article, like cancel culture is real, and sometimes it's hard to find somebody who we can trust, even though a therapist says like, we can't disclose any information and it's supposed to be like a judgment free zone. It's still kind of difficult to navigate. So if you guys have any thoughts about that, let me know, because just curious to know what other people's thoughts are in regards to cancel culture. And do you feel open enough to at least share your opinions on things in therapy, or would you? So if you have any thoughts about that later on, just comment it below. But we're going to get into today's topic. Um, so today's topic is mental health in the workplace. For those who are just tuning in, please like and share, follow and subscribe. So a lot of people have challenges when it comes to working, whether you're working for yourself, whether you're working for someone else, there's always going to be some challenges, just in general. So I wanted to talk to you guys today a little bit about like some of the common work stressors and how we can deal with those things, because those things are pretty much kind of inevitable. They're always going to happen. Sometimes they happen in more, the risk is higher to have some of these in certain fields of work. And I'll kind of go into that as I start talking. Um, a lot of these things I have learned just from my own experience with working. Like I said, I've worked in the mental health field since 2012. So I've experienced like a variety of work settings. I've worked in like a hospital setting. I've worked in a clinic, like a smaller clinic. I've worked in a school setting. I've worked in a substance abuse rehabilitation clinic. I've worked for child protection. So I've had a variety of jobs, and some were very high stress, and some were pretty even keel, like just really chill and relaxed. And then I work for myself, and so there's a lot of stress that comes with all of those things. So we're just gonna cover a few things. If you have any comments or thoughts that you want to share regarding mental health in the workplace and like stress and anything like that, or even any advice or things that you feel that works for you, just let me know. Or if you have any questions that you would like for me to answer regarding mental health in the workplace, please let me know. I'll be happy to answer them live on the air. So to go to my first common work stressor is high caseload / workloads. So that's a big one. I hear that one a lot. That's definitely one that I've experienced in my time of working. You guys may not be aware, but like if you work in the social services field, whether it's a counselor or even my social workers out there, like a lot of us typically have pretty high caseloads. Um, and we have a lot of expectations and extra paperwork that is involved usually with these caseloads. So that's really what makes it high stress. So I'm curious to know like what other people do to manage their stress as it relates to like a high caseload and a high workload. So I'll tell you a little bit about. I'm gonna look on my page and see if anybody's leaving any comments on my personal page. Um, so yeah, so as far as what I've done, as far as high caseload workloads, um, I'll just kind of give you a little backstory. So I used to work for child protection, and at one point, I had maybe 30 kids or 30 cases. Um, a family would equal like a case. So if that family had 5 kids, that's a case. If a family had 1 kid, that's a case. So, you can have, up to, 30, 35 cases, just depending on how many kids were in the family. That was a very high stress job, very high caseloads, very high expectations. I had to write court reports and I had to have them to the judge before I had to have them filed with the court 10 days before the court hearing. I had to visit my foster kids in their foster homes once a month. So if I have 30 kids, I have to see all of those kids by the end of the month. Um, then I had to write up a little note about the well-being of that child, um, amongst other paperwork that I had to keep straight. So that was very stressful. And I found that when I worked in my job at DCFS, like it was not just me. It was all of us were stressed. I mean, if somebody tells you they're not stressed when they work there, they must be like a mutant or somebody, because I just don't understand how you couldn't be stressed working in that type of environment. Not only is it high stress because of the expectations, but it's high stress just because of all of the things that we would see and hear and experience. Um, so there's like a lot of like secondary and tertiary trauma that's related to a job like that. And so on top of already having a high caseload and high expectations, it became quite stressful. And I started seeing other coworkers having like physical health problems as a result of the stress. And then I started having like severe anxiety and depression before I would go to work. Like I would wake up dreading to go to work every day. And I knew back then, and I wasn't even licensed yet, but I knew back then, like, yeah, this is not this is not my long-term dream job. This is not something that I want to do for a very long time. And there has to be something better out there for me. One suggestion that I would make when it comes to people that have a high caseload or high workloads, and typically you'll see this in settings where it's like government entities and things like that, where, low pay, high expectations. Um, I would set limits for yourself. And that's really what I had to start doing. I had to plan better. And I also had to set limits and know that I can only do so much in one day. And so whatever I couldn't finish, that was that. Like I wasn't going to have it stress me out even more than necessary. Um, so you definitely have to have your limits when it comes to a high caseload or workload. The word of the night is gonna be advocacy. you're gonna have to advocate for yourself if you feel like something is too much. And I think maybe back then I probably just really wanted like this. That was my first like big girl job, like real job. Like it was a government job, like I had benefits. So I really wasn't trying to mess that up. And I feel like some people will kind of like overexert themselves because they want the job with the benefits and all of that, and they don't want to rock the boat, or nobody else is complaining, so they're not going to, or people are complaining but they're not like, nobody's like gonna protest it, um so you definitely have to advocate for yourself and say like, hey, like this is too much. I can't do this. This is becoming to be too much. Is there a way that I can reduce my caseload for right now? Um, Especially if you're going through like a difficult time and it's like a lot to have to deal with a heavy workload and then also deal with your personal issues, just have a conversation with your supervisor or boss or whoever you need to about reducing your caseload to where it's a little bit more manageable. I would also say ask for help because you can't do all of those things on your own. So um, if you need somebody to help you do even the small things, like helping to send letters or whatever your coworkers, if they're available, or your supervisors available to help you to do, that's kind of like a small task that would maybe make your job a little bit easier so you can concentrate and focus on the bigger things that need to be addressed, then do that. And that could definitely help to reduce the stress from a high caseload or workload. So thank you to those who are joining. We're talking about mental health in the workplace. So if you have any questions or comments, please comment below, and I'd be happy to answer them. So yeah, so moving on to the next common stressor. This is a big one, and I noticed this with a lot of people. Um, Poor time management. Like if that's you, you probably want to like it 1,000 times. Like poor time management. Time management is really something that I have I've managed time management. I've managed time management. I have built um better time management skills over time. I was not always as good as I am with that now, but I had to learn very early on, especially like working for child protection it really shaped who I am and what type of worker I am. But learning how to manage your time better. We dilly dally a lot. I mean, I'll admit it too. Like scrolling on the phone, like on social media, eating, playing games. Like a lot of times we don't do what we're supposed to do at work, and then you lose track of time and you don't get your work done. So it's important for us to manage our time better so that we can be successful, and then you'll have less stress. But if you're playing around and doing everything else but working, and if you're really honest with yourself, then you know what I'm talking about. None of us are perfect. I don't know one person that literally works the entire time and doesn't, look at their phone or walk around the office and talk to people. So managing your time is so important. One way that I suggest is helpful to managing your time is using some sort of system. Um, Systems are so important to being successful. So using some sort of system to manage your time. So whether that is the calendar on your phone, um, using the reminders on your phone, the alarm clocks, using a calendar of some sort. Even if you're like a not necessarily like a tech savvy person, but you like the visual, like the big calendar, like the big desk calendar, then get that. Or if you prefer to use a planner, like I love planners, they're so pretty, and I will waste my money on like a $40 planner and not use it, or I might use it for a couple of weeks and I'm not consistent. So try to find the system that works best for you and manage your time better. This is also not only this whole segment for mental health in the workplace is not just for people that are working for other people, it's for entrepreneurs too. Entrepreneurs are probably horrible at managing their time because you don't have anybody to tell you what to do. So you're just kind of out here just creating your schedule yourself. And sometimes we do need that structure that like a conventional job gives us. So if you're an entrepreneur and you're working for yourself, time management is key to having less stress. So you want to have a schedule, you want to make appointments and stick to them. You want to set limits on how long you're going to spend on certain tasks. And not go beyond that. And you're going to have to say no to things. You're going to have to schedule things first. And I stress this to my husband all the time. He's an entrepreneur, for those who don't know. And I don't know if he's listened to me or not. I guess I'll have to ask him. But I share this with my clients too. You're going to have to prioritize yourself first. So all the things that are important to you, put that on your schedule first, and then everything else you schedule around it. And that's going to help you to prioritize those important things like family or like doctor's appointments or things like that are really like you can't miss. That's going to help you feel better because you're actually adding things to your schedule that are important to you. And so that's a part of that self-care. And then you're not like bombarding yourself with like a whole bunch of stuff like back to back. Like be mindful of that too when you're managing your times. Like don't schedule things back to back. Or if you do, like put a cushion in there. So when I schedule clients, like I usually have like a 10-minute gap in between each one. So that gives me time to like write a note or go use the restroom or just kind of like decompress from one client to the next. And so, you may want to schedule, depending on how much time you need, anywhere from 10 to 20 to 30 minutes in between each, like moving from one thing to the next. It's not good to just kind of jump like boom, 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 boom. Like you need time to slowly kind of, gravitate into the next task. Time management is so important. And I think if you can master that, I think that will minimize a big chunk of your stress. A lot of people kind of overbook themselves and do way too much. And you don't have to. You don't have to do that. Okay, so the next one is a disorganized and messy workspace. So back to when I worked for child protection, my desk used to have stacks of papers and um, big binders and all kinds of stuff. And it was literally like when you walked in there, it was like, what the heck is this? Like, what is this? What are you doing? Um, it was overwhelming just looking at the desk. Like the job was already overwhelming, but looking at the desk was even worse. Since then, I have definitely become more organized. I don't know if it's because of age and like maturity level or what, because I used to be like really disorganized and messy. But now it bothers me when stuff is all over the place. I think part of that is age and just being more mature. But also, like, I feel better when my space is organized and I know where things are, and there's not like a million papers everywhere, and things are neat, and trash is in the trash. And yeah, so you want to organize your desk. You want to organize, like, buy those organizers and things so that you know where things are. So there should be a place for everything. So can be, you buy containers, buy baskets, buy organizers, buy all the things that you need so that everything has a space, everything has a label. That's just going to help your workday go so much smoother. And then when you get to work, you're not going to feel like this overwhelming rush of like, oh my God, what is all of this? Um, you it's something so satisfying and like freeing and relaxing when your space is free of clutter. So that goes for your office, your workspace at the office. If you have like an outside office, like outside of your house, and even at your house. So like I'm in my office at home, and the desk is like cleared off, and that's how it should be. Like there's like some tissue here, like there's like everything has a little space. There's a basket right here, so you just really want to ensure that your space is organized. If you have trouble with that, or if it's like so overwhelming to where you're like, I don't even know where to start, which sometimes it gets like that, like especially if you're not consistent in that, then I would suggest that you just kind of start off with one thing and do a little bit each day. So for example, you can um like start off with your desk drawer and just shred some papers, like just kind of take baby steps. Okay, I'm just gonna organize my pencil case today, my pencil holder today, and then tomorrow I'll do something else. And so, just kind of start off small, work your way up, do one drawer a day, and then eventually, and as you put things where they belong and organize things and throw things away and shred things, you'll slowly notice a peace start to come over you. So that is another very important thing. It doesn't sound like a big deal, but it is a huge deal. If you have a messy workspace, it's like it's synonymous with like chaos in your life and in your mind as well. So gotta work on that. Technology issues is another one, especially like if your computer's messed up, like your computer has a virus, or the software that you guys use is kind of like out of date, or just not, I guess, conducive to what you would need it to work for your particular job. Um, I remember working at a certain job. I won't say the name, but the electronic health record that we used was not very user friendly, and nobody knew how to use it. Like, the trainings were like so awkward because not even the person who was training knew how to work it. And I was like, did y'all get this for free? Like, what's the problem? Like, is that why we're using this? So it was a horrible electronic health record system. I've used some great ones. But that one was probably the worst that I've ever used. So, definitely explaining to your supervisor or the powers that may be, like, hey, this particular software, this technology is giving me the blues, and it's affecting my ability to work productively. And so, when you say that, like they might spark something, or hopefully it does. Um, because nobody likes for their, for production to be halted or anything like that because of technology. So maybe if you express how detrimental it is to your ability to work, then hopefully they could get that done. If you're working for yourself, I highly recommend that you invest in high quality technology. I know that sometimes when we're starting off by ourselves, we might want to go the cheap route, and that may be okay for some things. But I think that in the long run, if we just invest a little bit more, we'll save more money later on. So just a little story about myself. So when I started my private practice 3 years ago, my laptop that my husband bought me like many years ago, it died like a month before I was starting my practice. And so I didn't have money to like buy a brand new computer. So I tried to like remedy the situation, but it was an older laptop. There was not any other like materials that would be compatible with it. And so I just decided to bite the bullet and just go ahead and get me a little Best Buy card and put that Mac on there, on there. Like I hated to do it, but here I am and I'm on the Mac right now. So, like sometimes we just have to you're not going to be able to make money if you don't spend money, and I think you just kind of have to look at the bigger scheme of things. So invest in some good quality technology and address the problems that come up with them, keep up with them, fix them accordingly, update them accordingly so that you have them for a long time, and then that will reduce your stress so you won't have to halt your ability to function at work. Anybody have any questions or comments, please comment below. Thank you for joining. Please like and share. Subscribe to my YouTube channel, JL Counseling. So moving on to the next common work stressor, difficult. Oh, I misspelled that. Difficult. Difficult. That's how you know it's bad. I misspelled it. Difficult customers or clients. So this one is probably like the top one. And I think that's where we kind of see, I think this is why we see so many businesses with poor customer service because we have difficult or challenging customers or clients, and it just kind of gets us all the way up here. And then we just react and we don't stop and think how this is going to affect our job or affect our business and the brand. So difficult customers or clients comes with the territory. Whether you're working for yourself or you're working for somebody else, there's always going to be a customer or a client that is, maybe having a bad day, or they, you guys just don't mesh very well. Or there's something that they're upset about regarding the services. So how do you deal with that? Typically we might go with our first instinct. If somebody says something rude to us or disrespectful to us, but I think it's so important, especially since this is our livelihood, for us to kind of take a step back and think about, before I respond to this client, let me kind of see if I can let me see if I can look at it from their point of view. Because a lot of times when like customers act up, it's usually because they feel like misunderstood, or they don't feel heard, or they don't feel like their needs are being met. So kind of pause for a second and think like, okay, if I was in this customer situation, like how would I feel? Like, can I understand their point of view, and what can I do to help them to feel better right now? Um, how can I remedy the situation? And so I think that that's the best tip that I can give you is when a client is just kind of seems to be like there's just nothing that can help them. Just say, what I hear you saying XYZ, you know, what do you need right now in order for us to remedy the situation? And so sometimes we just kind of have to like bite our tongue and kind of, you can vent about it later, but just kind of try to figure out what is it that they need so that they can go on about their business and so you can continue with your workday. Um, and then sometimes things can't be remedied just between you and the customer. So you may need your supervisor or a manager, or you may need to ask like a partner to come in and like kind of step aside, especially if you feel yourself kind of getting to that breaking point. So just kind of listen to your body, listen to your mind, and pay attention to all of those little things that we kind of ignore sometimes. Um, and also, like, don't take things personal. And I think that's one thing that I've had to really learn, especially working in the mental health field, because people come to me all kinds of ways. Um, so they may come to me crying, they may come to me happy and ready to work, they may come to me angry, and they may see somebody that they know in me, and they might project some anger towards me or whatever. And so I have just learned with dealing with difficult clients or customers. And I mean, I worked at a grocery store for 6 years when I was in throughout undergrad and grad school. So, I mean, I've had my fair share of working with in customer service. So I think it's just important for us to not take things so personally when clients do have an attitude with us, or if they say something we don't like. 9 times out of 10, it's not you; it's probably them. Unless maybe you always have issues with customers or clients, and then maybe it might be you. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, so you might take some self-reflection there. But if it's like one client, like once a year or once every few years, then it's probably them and they're probably just having a bad day. And so you just want to figure out, um, how can I prevent this from happening again? Or, what can I do to help remedy the situation? And then just wipe your hands of it. Like, don't take it with you throughout the rest of the day. Like I've had that, excuse me, happen before where like a client or a customer will get me so upset and it just ruins like my whole day. And I just learned, I guess just through growth, that you don't let somebody ruin your day. Like, this is one client, one customer out of the whole day. Like, solve the issue and keep it pushing. Like, don't let somebody, ruin the rest of your day just because of one small conflict or one bad moment. So that is my tip for dealing with difficult customers and clients, because they do come. They come in all shapes and sizes. Um, Micromanager bosses. Ooh, I think that's why I like to. I fortunately I have not had. I think I've only had one, and it's at a company that I won't name, but they were very much a micromanager, and they went to like all the clinics and they micromanaged a lot. Um, I'm a very autonomous worker. Like, you don't have to tell me what to do. And like most of my managers and supervisors, like if you ask them, they'll tell you like, Jessica, she just does what she's supposed to do, like without even asking. So I think that's what bothers me more, is that because I am an autonomous worker, that Miss Yolanda, yeah, I can't do micromanagers either. Like, I can't stand it because I do what I'm supposed to do. So you don't have to watch over me. But that kind of goes back to what I was saying earlier. Like a lot of people don't do what they're supposed to do, and then it messes it up for the rest of us that do. Um, so it takes like trust. Trust definitely has to be built in a work environment. Um, so your employees have to be able to trust you and vice versa. So my tip for people that have micromanager bosses, maybe have a sit down with them and just say like, hey, like it seems like you kind of have a different managerial style than what I'm used to, and maybe we can kind of discuss like your expectations, and that way I can kind of understand the full scope of what you're needing, and maybe I could tell you a little bit about what I need in order to be my best self at work, or to work at my best capacity, or best productivity. So, sometimes it just takes having a conversation if the person is willing to, of course. But I think a lot of times people don't even try to do that. I think they just kind of complain, which, I've been that person to just complain instead of having the conversation. But um, I think that would probably be a good idea to just kind of sit down and say, what are your expectations, so that you have that trust that I'm going to do XYZ, so you can spend time doing other things instead of, looking over me. So, and you say that in in a nicer way, of course, with better wording, but you guys get the idea. Just having a conversation, and working to build that trust, and following through with what you say you're going to do, and doing what you need to be doing, working, not playing on your phone, not on social media, not taking long breaks. It will definitely help to kind of give that type of boss or manager a little bit more security and confidence in your abilities to carry out the job that's supposed to be done. Um, hostile work environment. I really wanted to get to this before we close because we have a few minutes left. Hostile work environments can be very tough. I've been in a few hostile work environments. Not so much since I've been an adult, but definitely when I had my first job. Um, I worked at Sonic, and a girl wanted to fight me. So that happens. I was 18 at the time. Quite traumatic. I was like not used to that at all. And it was my first job. So hostile work environments can be very uncomfortable. Um, and so that could be, like having an argument with somebody, or somebody saying mean things or disrespectful things. It could be somebody who walks around slamming cabinet doors and slamming stuff down on the desk, or yelling or cussing or screaming at work. Um, People that use intimidation, sexual harassment, even racism and microaggressions is another big one that can create like a hostile work environment. And that kind of is coupled with another thing that like my husband had mentioned to me last night, like just having an uncomfortable office culture. So it just doesn't feel very there's no unity, and people are excluded, and there's like work cliques and stuff like that. So hostile work environments can be a major stressor. So how do you deal with that? Definitely, following what most people learn in their like orientation or trainings is like the chain of command, right? So whoever you have a problem with, you're going to deal with it. You're going to address it with that individual first and see if that solves the problem. But if that doesn't work, then of course you go up the chain of command. So to your manager, or if it's your manager, then you would go to somebody higher. One thing that I would suggest in hostile work environments is to just always keep your cool. because at the end of the day, you want to make sure that you're doing everything right and you're not giving anybody else any other ammunition to kind of use against you if stuff hits the fan. I would also say definitely keep documentation. Yeah, it's unfortunate. I think a lot of people have been there. So keep documentation. Everything needs to be in writing. I don't care what it is, it needs to be in writing. So whether it's you write up something in like a Word document, or also you know emails, like communicating via emails instead of on the phone or face to face would probably be better, so that way there is a clear paper trail of what has been discussed. And even if you do have face to face conversations, always follow that up with an email and just document your experiences. So if somebody is using intimidation or threatening you, you want to document that and keep that in a safe place and give that to somebody else who maybe have a copy of it. You want to report things to HR as soon as possible, because the longer we let things kind of drag out, and I know, like, especially as adults, we feel like, well, I can handle it or I can deal with it. And you might can deal with it, but you probably want to address things sooner than later before it builds up, and then eventually, somebody's gonna get fired. So you just want to make sure that's not you. So you want to CYA, and for those who know, so you just want to document at all times, and that's really going to help with working with hostile environments. I also suggest that sometimes when things are unpleasant at work, it may be helpful to just kind of minimize contact, because ultimately, yes, we create relationships and socialize at work, but ultimately, that's not what you're there for. You're there to have make money, make a living, and so you want to just like do your job and go home. And if it gets to be very unbearable to the point where it's very uncomfortable, or you feel unsafe, or you just feel unhappy, then I would suggest you maybe try to look for another working environment that may be a little bit more welcoming, and more supportive, and all those things. So, um, any comments or questions? We have about 3 minutes left for the podcast. I think I have time for um, one more question. Um, Getting work emails or calls after hours. That's a huge stressor, with like your boss is sending you an email at like 12 o'clock at night. Like, what? Like, why are you still up? Like, why are you thinking about work? But that happens. And even if you work for yourself, because I have this happen to where people will request appointments at the strangest times at night. Of course, I'm asleep and I don't see it until the next day. But, just the thought of, man, like somebody having access to you after hours, which is why it's so important for us to set boundaries with work. So I suggest, if you can, to, delete your email app off of your phone and just check it on your computer. So once you get off your computer, that's it for the day. Or stop checking your emails after a certain time. You have on our phones, we have, lots of capabilities to put time constraints on certain apps. So I would definitely suggest that. And I would just be very strict with accepting calls after a certain time period. So if people call you at 8 o'clock at night and you answer, that's your fault, because you're setting the tone for that. You're allowing it to happen because you're answering it. So when you don't answer, then that lets that person know, like, no, this is my personal time, and I'll return that phone call in the morning at 8 a.m. or whatever. So, and that leads me to, well, that is the ends. We've run out of time. It's almost 9 o'clock. So, but this leads me to what our next week's episode is going to be. It's going to be on boundary setting. So if you have trouble with setting boundaries in your life, whether it's related, work related, or with family or friends or anything else, you will want to tune in to next week's episode. I'm going to be talking to you about setting boundaries and even providing you with some resources for how to help in that area. So thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you for tuning in. Please like, share, follow, subscribe. Here's my information. If you or someone you know is wanting counseling services, I also am accepting a booking for paid speaking engagements. If anybody wants me to come talk to their company about mental health in the workplace, if anybody wants to consult with me about how to establish a more mental health conscious work environment, please give me a call or send me a message, and we can set some kind of consultation appointment about that. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll talk to you guys next week. Bye-bye.